Most people think loneliness is a failure, or that if you don't have friends, something must be wrong with you. But Carl Jung saw it differently. Okay, he believed solitude wasn't just a symptom, it was a signal, a sign that your inner world was louder than the outer one, that your thoughts ran deeper than most conversations could reach, and that sometimes being alone wasn't a problem. It was a path. I've met people who live in silence, not because they're antisocial, not because they're bitter, but because they're tired of shallow talk, tired of pretending, tired of being misunderstood. These people aren't broken, they're complex, and that complexity often comes with traits that make friendship harder, but not impossible. Number 1, intensity. People who don't have friends often feel things deeply. They don't do surface level. They want real connection, real truth, real depth. But most social spaces aren't built for that. They're built for small talk, for performance, for ease. So the intense person stays quiet, not because they don't care, but because they care too much. They've learned that most people aren't ready for their full self, and so they wait, sometimes for years. Number 2, self-containment. Jung called this individuation the process of becoming whole within yourself. Some people don't seek constant company because they've built an inner life that sustains them. They reflect, they create, they think. And while this makes them strong, it also makes them hard to reach. They don't need others in the usual way, and that can make others feel unnecessary. It's not arrogance, it's self-sufficiency. But it can look like distance. Number 3, high sensitivity, loud environments, chaotic energy. Emotional noise, it drains them. They prefer quiet, they prefer calm, they prefer depth. But in a world that rewards extroversion, this sensitivity is often mistaken for weakness. So they retreat, not to escape, but to preserve themselves. They're not avoiding people. They're avoiding overstimulation. And that choice, while protective, can lead to isolation. 1. Number 4, idealism. They don't just want friends. They want kindred spirits. People who understand nuance, who value honesty, who speak with intention. But idealism is a double-edged sword. It makes you hold out for something rare. And in the meantime, you stay alone. Not because you're unworthy, but because you're unwilling to settle. You'd rather be alone than deluded. Number 5, emotional independence. They don't rely on others to regulate their emotions. They process internally, they journal, they walk, they think, and while this makes them resilient, it also makes them seem closed off. Friends often bond through emotional exchange, but if you rarely ask for help, people assume you don't need them, and slowly they stop showing up. Number 6, social fatigue. They're not antisocial, they're just exhausted. Socializing takes energy, especially when it's performative. Smiling when you don't feel like it, laughing at things that aren't funny, listening to stories you've heard 100 times. For some people, this kind of interaction drains them faster than any task. They need recovery time after social events. And if they don't get it, they start to avoid people altogether. Not because they don't care, but because they're protecting their bandwidth. Number 7, trust trauma. They've been betrayed, maybe not dramatically, but subtly. Friends who disappeared when things got hard, confidences that were broken, support that never showed up. These experiences leave scars, and those scars make it hard to open up again. They become cautious, guarded, selective. They don't trust easily, not because they're paranoid, but because they've learned the cost of misplaced trust. And so they stay alone, not out of bitterness, but out of self-preservation. Number 8, philosophical depth. They think about things most people avoid: meaning, mortality, consciousness, identity. They ask questions that don't have easy answers, and that kind of thinking can be isolating. It's hard to talk about the nature of existence over coffee. It's hard to bring up existential dread at a dinner party. So they stay quiet. They keep their thoughts to themselves, not because they don't want to share, but because they don't want to be dismissed. Number 9, nonconformity. And they don't fit the mold. They don't follow trends. They don't pretend to be someone they're not. And while that makes them authentic, it also makes them hard to categorize. People like labels. They like predictability. But the nonconformist resists that. They live by their own rules, and that can make others uncomfortable. So they get excluded, not because they're wrong, but because they're different. Number 10, quiet grief. They carry a sadness that's hard to name, not depression, not despair, just a quiet ache. The ache of being unseen, of being misunderstood, of wanting connection but not knowing how to find it. They don't talk about it. They don't post about it. They just live with it. And that grief shapes them. It makes them cautious. It makes them reflective. It makes them gentle. But it also makes them lonely. These traits don't mean someone is broken. They mean someone is layered, complex, deep. And while those layers can make friendship harder, they also make it more meaningful when it finally happens. Carl Jung believed that loneliness wasn't just about being alone. It was about being unable to share what matters most. And for people who carry these traits, that's the challenge. They're not looking for company. They're looking for resonance. Most people will hear this and move on. But if you're still here, you're already shifting. You're already choosing depth over noise. Subscribe to The Inner Shift. Every week, we explore the psychology truths that help you understand yourself, connect deeper, and live with more clarity. Because solitude isn't failure. It's a signal.